Let's get to the second thing that you need to know this morning. Speaking of leadership, a milestone leadership change at PayPal. The company announcing CEO Dan Schulman is going to retire from his role at the end of the year. He will become a member of the board of directors, even though he's given up the CEO spot. The focus at PayPal has been on slashing expenses. Payment volumes did miss estimates last quarter. And for how this is impacting the outlook of the stock, we're joined now by Paul Golding, Macquarie Capital Senior Equity Research Analyst. Paul, thanks for being here. So Schulman obviously staying on through the year to help find a successor to him. What do you make of the transition at this point in time? And what does Schulman need to get accomplished before he steps down at the end of the year?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So Schulman is leaving and gave comments around why he felt that this was the right time. And they involved feeling that PayPal was on solid footing and that it had a bright future. But PayPal is an incumbent in the digital payment space and e-commerce payments and even just in processing across P2P, peer-to-peer, so something like the Venmo platform. And so we see that from a place of incumbency and with some new entrants or maybe not so new, but scaled entrants that are gaining recognition and penetration in the marketplace, this may not be as clear-cut a story. We still have an outperform rating and a $115 target now, down from $125, as we do value that incumbency and that reputation and that scale. But even on the call yesterday, management was a bit downbeat on the e-commerce backdrop at the moment. So a lot of different dynamics that the board has to consider in looking for a successor for PayPal at this juncture.
Paul, I was thinking back last night to when the first time I met Dan. I think it was in 2016 in my other publication. He walked into the office. He was wearing cowboy boots, a black shirt, and I thought I was getting spoofed. You know, he really took me by surprise. I have not normally seen a CEO with that type of attire, but the bigger picture is Dan has always been a different CEO. He's led with his heart. He's been different. He's been very vocal on social issues. As the board looks for that successor, do they need another Dan Schulman type CEO, or do they need more of an operator CEO?
I would say that given where PayPal finds itself right now, they do need an innovator and a visionary to not just ensure that PayPal retains its place in the market, but to provide a compelling offering to go into new channels and new markets. And so I wouldn't say necessarily that a vanilla operator is the solution. As you mentioned on the intro before the segment, Schulman's performance with respect to stock, the stock over his tenure has been very solid, very impressive.
And so it sounds like Dan Schulman will have just a little bit more time for some Krav Maga, but for this company and PayPal, where they're looking to compound on how well BNPL and that business is doing, and kind of look through some of the other earnings reports that have come through this week where BNPL still has some strength. I think about Affirm, even though we did see quite a different reaction there. What do you believe that the next CEO needs to drum up within this company to institute that next leg of growth?
Well, to your point, BNPL is a space where they were not the incumbent. You had other platforms out in the marketplace that have been doing this for longer, especially in the pay in 4 space. And so to note that they drove $20 billion of volume on BNPL in fiscal 22 across 30 million customers is a significant achievement. And so I think they need to find someone who can discover those opportunities, attack them, and do so in a way that fits the investor landscape's expectations around earnings performance for what is a scaled incumbent. So in other words, it can't necessarily be this innovation and development at all costs. It has to leverage the intellectual property, the talent, the expertise, and the scale and the relationships that PayPal already has to give them that leg up on deploying and developing these new platforms.
Hey, Paul, you've been talking a lot about the characteristics that you want for the new leader. I wonder if you have any specific names on your wish list for people to replace Dan.
I don't. They're big shoes to fill, and PayPal is such a global platform it'll be interesting to track the process that the board undertakes. And I think Schulman even recognized, especially with his comments on the call about his flexibility around timing, that this may not be the easiest search in the marketplace. He noted that he'd be willing to stay longer if it's what is required to find the right successor. So I think we all agree that this is likely going to be quite a difficult search to find the right fit.